Let's bring in Professor Laura Blumenfeld, a Middle East analyst and former US State Department advisor. Welcome back, Laura. Good to have you with us. From a strategic standpoint, just how significant was this US strike, and has it ultimately really affected the trajectory of the Iran-Israel conflict?
Yeah, it was a historic escalation last night. Operation Midnight Hammer was meant to deliver the death blow, which Israel had been hammering away at, of course, but couldn't go all the way without the big bomb. And it was never going to be over until the big bombs dropped. I think the big question today is, did they completely destroy those nuclear facilities, or were they simply damaged? And we just have to wait. I mean, BDA, battle damage assessment, is going to come in the next days or weeks. And then the second question is, was the uranium moved before the strikes? Because if it was dispersed, then you've got a whole other game.
And what do you make about the timing? Do you think that, as Pete Hegseth, the US Defense Secretary, said, this was not about regime change? They wanted this to be a short, sharp shock. Do you think that Washington is hoping that that is it now?
Absolutely. I think what Washington is saying, we are not isolationists, we are unilateralists, and we'll pursue those goals with laser-like precision. So no, beware mission creep. I don't think they're out on any kind of moral mission of democratization, which trapped the Bush administration. I think they're very focused, more focused even than Israel. Israel says that they have twin missions, the missile program and the nuclear. But what Washington is saying, if Iran doesn't grow desperate and more dangerous by making a dash for the bomb, as Vice President J.D. Vance said this morning, the United States is all ears. I think what's interesting is their actions are military, hard power, but their language is like somebody who still wants to get back to the negotiating table. They're ultimately diplomatic deal makers at heart, and that's President Trump.
And just how much clarity and certainty is there that the Iranians were close to actually producing a nuclear weapon? They denied that that was the case, but clearly the Israelis felt their word. Does America, bearing in mind you mentioned the Bush administration and the quagmire of Iraq and WMDs and the proof of that kind of level of arsenal, is there full certainty that Iran did actually have this kind of capability?
Such an important question for all Americans, and we're certainly anxious to understand what is the reality there. I think that the way these intelligence assessments are written is meant to be interpreted by policymakers. So the intelligence community delivers up a set of facts, and they can be spun like everything else out there in different ways depending on how you use them. The only truth that mattered here today, though, was President Trump's, and he felt that that this was, if not a preemptive strike, then certainly a preventative one, that the threat was imminent and the time to go is now.
And just how credible is the threat from Iran that it will massively retaliate? What kind of capabilities do they have now, and how much might they disrupt or even close the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is the energy highway for the world. It's certainly vital for China and their interests. I think that they have to retaliate. I'm not sure they're going to go all the way to the Strait of Hormuz, but there'll have to be some kind of at least modest retaliation. I'm not sure they're going to aim at military assets belong to the United States. Israel will probably take it in the chin. Netanyahu's slogan and Trump's is peace through strength. I think the strength that Israelis are going to have to show now is a kind of inner resilience, because they will be under attack. And finally, having been to Iran, I've been to Qom, which is just 1 hour away from Fordo, that nuclear facility. I met with the Grand Ayatollah Ardebili and talked to him about revenge and retaliation according to Islamic law. Remember, Iran is an Islamic regime, so there's a religious component here too. And what he said to me, Laura, he said to me, revenge for us isn't a right, it's a religious obligation. So there will be a retaliation. Let's just hope it's limited and that we can get back to the negotiating table where the entire Middle East really wants to be today.
And do you think that the Iranian government is, for now, fairly stable? Is it going to continue, or is there a threat that the whole government could collapse?
Well, it's wobbly, but, it was years before the regime under Assad in Syria fell. So I don't think we should expect regime collapse in a day or two. I think one thing that's sort of tragic here is that apparently there was a back-channel effort of last-ditch negotiations for diplomacy through Erdogan in Turkey, the leader of Turkey, to reach Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, but he was hiding in a bunker and couldn't be reached. So I think part of this is communication. Whoever is left standing could potentially drink the poison chalice. That's the language that they used, that the leaders of Iran used to end the Iran-Iraq war, because at the end of the day, what they prioritized was regime stability and that they could live to fight another day. So if Khamenei chooses that, then again, this could all be very limited, and we get back to negotiations, and Trump focuses on his number one priority, which is the economy.
Really, really grateful for your insights, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us again. That's Professor Laura Blumenfeld, a Middle East analyst and a former US State Department advisor.